Hello, patrons and YouTube members. Thank you so much for being members. This is the members only, patrons only mini cast for this week. We're talking about Arthur Pole. In fact, two Arthur Poles. I have been completely obsessed with the Pole family in the past couple of months and have done a lot of episodes on them. And I just love the idea that there are two Arthur Poles from different generations whose lives took very different trajectories. And I wanted to talk about them in a special members-only podcast. So here we are. Let's get right into it. In the grand drama of English history, the name Arthur Pole resonates through two distinct yet interlinked chapters set against the backdrop of the vibrant and tumultuous Tudor era. These two individuals, sharing a name and bloodline, but coming from different generations, navigated the complex tides of 16th century England, each carving out their own niche in the annals of time. The first, Sir Arthur Pole of Broadhurst, Sussex, was born in 1494. He was a paragon of the Renaissance courtier. His life was a vivid portrait of Tudor opulence and intrigue. He was a trusted courtier of Henry VIII. He was immersed in a world where jousting knights and eloquent diplomats shared the stage, a world where grand feasts echoed with the clatter of goblets and the murmur of courtly plots. His existence was set against the backdrop of grand palaces and royal courts and was emblematic of the era's splendor and volatility. Contrast that with his ancestor, the second Arthur Pole, born 30 years later in 1531 in Sussex. He trod a path shadowed by political scheming and royal suspicion. Sir Arthur Pole of Lordington, carrying the weight of his Plantagenet heritage, found himself caught in the intricate web of Elizabethan power play. His life was marked by the stones of the Tower of London, and the echo of imprisonment was a testament to the perils of high birth and ambition in an era of shifting loyalties. These two Arthur Poles were linked by blood, by lineage. They were separated by destiny, and they embody the spectrum of fortune in the Tudor period. In delving into the lives of these two remarkable men, we uncover not only the individual tales of ambition, loyalty, and survival, but also gain a panoramic view of an era that reshaped England. Their legacies, distinct in their impact and reach, continue to echo, serving as a reminder of the indelible mark a single family can leave on the pages of history. So in the lush greenery of Sussex, Arthur Pole was born in 1494 into the illustrious Pole family, a lineage steeped in nobility and distinction. His parents were Sir Richard Pole and Margaret Pole, the Countess of Salisbury, and it provided a backdrop of aristocratic prestige and influence. His mother, Margaret, we've talked about many, many times, was a figure of considerable stature. She was later the godmother of Mary I. She was the daughter of the Duke of Clarence. Arthur's journey into the world of Tudor politics began with a vital diplomatic mission in 1514. He accompanied the Princess Mary, Henry VIII's sister, to her marriage with Louis XII of France. This journey marked the start of Arthur's ascent into the royal court. His natural charisma and skill at arms, particularly in jousting, caught the eye of Henry. By 1516, Arthur had become a celebrated figure in court, renowned for his chivalric demeanor and prowess in tournaments. His talents and charm led to his appointment as a gentleman of the bedchamber in 1518, a position that placed him in the intimate circle of the king. A pivotal moment in Arthur's courtly career came in 1520 during the Field of Cloth of Gold. This event was, of course, a magnificent display of the wealth and power of the English and French courts, saw Arthur shine as a member of Henry Courtenay, the Earl of Devon's team. Of course, just 20 years later, so the Courtenay family would be mixed up with the Pole family, which would lead to many of their downfalls. However, this was a decade and a half before that. So he was part of the Earl of Devon's team. His performance in this grand diplomatic and chivalric gathering further cemented his reputation as a distinguished courtier. His commitment to Henry and his country extended beyond the court. In 1523, during a campaign against the French, he was knighted by Charles Brandon, Duke of Suffolk. His martial valor and dedication to the crown were acknowledged and rewarded, adding prestige both as a knight and as a lord of his manor in Sussex. In 1522, Arthur married Jane Lucanor, a woman of notable lineage and widow of Sir Christopher Pickering. Her parents were from distinguished families, so it was a union of two, very notable families. The union produced 4 children: Henry, Mary, who later married Sir John Stanley, Jane, and Margaret, who wed Sir John Fitzherbert. Historians speculate that Arthur may have fallen victim to the dreaded sweating sickness in 1528. Of course, this is the same bout that Anne Boleyn got sick with, and it was a particularly virulent year for the sweat. His death occurred before his widow Jane's remarriage in 1532, led to disputes within the Pole family. His mother, Lady Salisbury, and his brother, Lord Montague, were concerned about Jane's remarriage, potentially diminishing the family's fortune. Their influence led to Jane initially taking vows as a novice, although she was later released from these vows and married Sir William Barentine. Their efforts to legitimize their children in 1543 became a notable episode in the family's history. Arthur Pole's life, though relatively short, was a mirror of the dynamic and often perilous world of the Tudor court. His journey from a young nobleman to a distinguished figure in Henry VIII's inner circle encapsulates the spirit of ambition and chivalry of the era. His legacy was marked by contributions to the court, his military service, and his role as a family man. It paints a picture of a life lived fully in the service of king and country. Now we're moving on to 1531. So our first Arthur Pole has been dead for probably 3 years. Another Arthur Pole is born, also in Sussex, in Lordington in Sussex. His heritage was not just noble, but, like our other Arthur Pole, royally entwined. He also descended from the Plantagenets, and he had a latent claim to the English throne, like all of the Plantagenets. Now, he was the son of Geoffrey Pole, so he would have been Arthur Pole's nephew, was probably named after the first Arthur Pole. And this Arthur's life was set against the backdrop of his family marked by both privilege and peril. He would be coming of age during the downfall of his family. His life took a dramatic turn following the downfall of his uncle, Henry Pole, Baron Montague, his grandmother, Margaret Pole. These events cast a long shadow over the family. Of course, his other uncle was busy writing about how Henry VIII's new marriage was unlawful, causing trouble for everybody. And Arthur himself was imprisoned due to the perceived threats posed by their royal connections. This early encounter with the Tower of London was a foreboding sign of the tribulations to come. He also would have been imprisoned with his other cousin, the young Henry Pole, which I just did an episode on as well. Upon his release, Arthur entered the service of John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland, one of the most influential figures in the Tudor court. This was after the death of Henry VIII during the reign of Edward VI, and it was a brief respite in his life increasingly defined by political intrigue and ambition. He was Catholic, so as Mary I reigned, he would have continued to gain favor, but then with the accession of Queen Elizabeth I, the Pole family found their fortunes waning. Arthur's request to serve at Elizabeth's court in 1561 was denied, a decision that would pivot his path towards conspiracy. Disillusioned and marginalized, Arthur began to weave a web of conspiracy. In 1562, his Plantagenet bloodline placed him as a potential contender for the throne. Seeking to capitalize on this, he reached out to foreign powers, including France and Spain, to support his claim. His audacious plan involved offering allegiance to Mary, Queen of Scots, in exchange for the dukedom of Clarence. This move, however, would prove to be his undoing. Along with his brothers, Edmund and Geoffrey, he was imprisoned in the Tower, again, charged with treason for conspiring to advance either his or Mary, Queen of Scots' claim to the English throne. The trial that followed was swift and unforgiving. On February 26, 1563, within the grim walls of the Tower, he was convicted of treason. He spent the remainder of his life in captivity, a tragic end for a man of such noble birth, and he passed away in 1570, his aspirations unfulfilled, his lineage left without an heir. His cell in the Tower, marked by an inscription bearing his name and a poignant Latin phrase, remains a testament to his fate and the ruthless nature of Tudor politics. In a brief interlude between his conspiratorial activities and final imprisonment, Arthur married Mary Holland, daughter of Sir Richard Holland. Their union, however, was short-lived and childless, adding a personal note of sadness to Arthur's tumultuous life. This Arthur Pole's life as a conspirator offers a stark contrast to the courtly glamour of his namesake ancestor. His story is a vivid illustration of the dangerous allure of royal bloodlines and the perilous nature of ambition in Tudor England. It serves as a reminder of how the quest for power can lead to downfall and how the intricate web of politics and lineage can ensnare even the most noble. So that Pole family really got themselves caught up in a lot of conspiracy. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this mini cast. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and podcast. And I will be back next week with another members only show. If you have any special requests, let me know. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Blow, northern wind, send who may be sweating. Blow, northern wind, blow, blow, blow. Ich hatte Bord in Bauerbricht, dat soll is semlis on sich. Menschful Maiden of mich, fair and free to fonder. In all this worldliche wonder, Bord of blow.